You talked a little bit about addiction, and I just discovered, I would say probably 2 or 3 months ago, that I'm addicted to thought.
Ah, is anybody else addicted to thought?
So my question is if you could talk a little bit more about that, like how to stop the train of thought or how to move into a deeper space of beingness and being at oneness. Um, are there certain tools or exercises that you do to alleviate, I'll use these words, the ticker tape 24/7 train of thought?
So we can't stop thought. Alleviating, and you said something in the beginning, I don't remember your words, but about stopping it, stopping the train of thought. It's not about that. It's about our relationship with that train of thought. It's true, thought can die down and there can be silence and no thought. I mean, that's possible, but it's not a goal to get there. You know, there's no cause and effect there. We don't make it happen. It's just a spontaneous experience that happens. Your question is really about exploring your relationship to thought and to thinking. There are many different relationships we can have. One is we believe the thought, but I don't think that's what your question is about. I think your question is about, there's a ton of thought going on in there. Maybe you're listening to some of it, maybe you're not, but it's still going and it's bothering you. You know, it's like there should be less of it, or I should be quieter or calmer or whatever. The invitation here is to discover the silence that's here with the noise or underneath the noise. So, because in consciousness, there can be a lot of forms arising and activity and stuff happening, and consciousness is just here as the Buddha, you know, as the silence itself. And when the forms die down, when all that action in the world of form happens to die down for whatever reason, maybe because you're not reinforcing it so much with attention, then you directly experience this silence. But the silence is here whether there's a lot of noise or not. So the wise relationship to thinking is to not be attached to the content of it, not be attached to the content of thinking. So if thought comes and says, I need to accomplish 1,000,000 things today, and then the attention goes, yes, I need to accomplish 1,000,000 things today, better get going. That's believing thought, right? So the relationship with the thought is, I believe what that thought is telling me. I believe the content of it. But to step back and see the thought and see what it's saying, and to say, I'm just not going to pay attention to that, that's a different kind of relationship with thought. It's losing interest in the content of thought. The content is the meaning, is what it says, is what it's telling you. That's what the content of thought is, the actual meaning of the words, the language. And the less interested we are in that, the more connected we are to the silence underneath it, and the less we're reinforcing it. What we fertilize is what grows, and our fertilizer is our attention. So if we, yes, that's true, I need to do that, I need to seek out attention, I need to do the next social activity so that I'll be liked, I need, you know, whatever your version is, that's all of that is believing thought. And there's always, so that's the relationship is defined by the believing of the content of the thought. But the more that you can step back and let thought go. So the metaphor is you're the sky and thought is the clouds. And there might be very, very, cloudy sky, tons of thoughts, stormy, but you're still sky. And then it loosens up the attachment to thought. And my experience is over time, quite a bit of time, I want to say, it gets less and less. Meaning that in the end, it doesn't matter if the thought is there or not, because the silence is known. And I want to say something else about it from a different angle, which is if there's a lot of thought going with a lot of energy around it, there might be an emotion underneath that's unexplored. And often that emotion is fear. So if there's unexplored fear, it's not 100%, but it tends to be this way. The mind gets going. I got to figure this out. I got to know. I got to decide. What should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? What about the future? I got to, endless thinking. And what's underneath, what's driving all of that thinking is fear. So I don't know if that's the case for you, but that would be an interesting exploration. So that resonates to some extent. Yeah, so would be to go to look at the emotional level, which includes the body. So if it's fear, it's how fear is showing in the body, and to see if there's something that needs your attention in the emotional realm. That was totally the case for me. I was definitely a thinking addict. And as I sat and saw like all of that thinking, I got to the point where I always knew that it was fear-based. And so I wouldn't even, like in a meditation, I wouldn't even pay attention to the thinking. I would just go right to feeling the fear underneath it over and over and over and over. And eventually that connection loosened. So the thinking started, I almost don't even want to say this. I mean, there are effects. The thinking starts to die down, but the goal is not to reduce the thinking. The goal is to open your awareness to welcome everything and to not, so you can welcome like the energy of thought. Wow, there's a lot of thought, there's energy, not the content though, not the story of it. And to go to the emotion that might be underneath it.
Well, the emotion underneath it for me um, is the fear of death and dying.
Okay, then that's good to know.
And I'm sorry.
Good to know that.
Yeah, good to know that. And it just seems like it, again, I discovered that that has been running my life all my life.
Yeah.
And getting to the place of being so fully alive and so authentic, and to be totally self-expressed as who and what I am, which is, as you know, is God, spirit, and again, I guess keep going, keep releasing that fear, or
Well, it depends on what you mean by release. What do you mean by release the fear?
well, by I don't have the right words, embracing it, by going through it, by feeling it,
Yes.
and grieving about it,
Yeah.
and then coming through the other side, and
Yeah.
again being more of the love and the light.
I think I would not use the word release though, because it has a cause and effect feel to it. It's like if I go through it, then I'll release it and then everything will be fine over there with the light. There's a potential for you not to fully meet it, because when we meet a feeling with a goal in mind to have less of it, there's like a catch in there, and it doesn't let us fully feel the feeling. So really the instruction, it's a bit of a trick, is feel it as if this was going to be your experience forever. That's how much you feel a feeling. Like if this is it and you were going to be with it 100% as it is, feel that fully. And then what it does after that is its own business. That's not your business. Your job is only to be like consciousness, not to make anything happen, but to welcome everything with a deep, unconditional acceptance and love, because that's the reality of the moment. That's it. Nothing, and then that'll happen. No.
No wonder I'm mentally exhausted.
There's a trying in there. And if there's a trying, there's a one who is trying, and that's a separate self. Yeah. So to disengage from this idea, the separate self, just be with what is. It's simpler. It's way simpler than I think what you've been doing. Just be fully with what is and welcome it in love and unconditional acceptance.
Thank you for your wise words. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah. I mean, this applies to everyone. Who doesn't feel a feeling so that you can get rid of it? You know, you hear this like spiritual idea, oh, I'm supposed to feel feelings. Okay, I'll do that and then I'll see the light. I mean, that's so common, right? So I'm grateful that you brought it into our space today, because I'm sure other people are benefiting from hearing this. Yeah, but that's not it. It's not about getting rid of it so I can go from being human to being a spiritual being. No. It's much easier than that, actually, simpler. There's a simplicity to just meeting what is. Be like sky. That's it. Yeah, no goal. No goal. If there's a goal, there's some kind of separation. There's a doer. There's a one who needs to achieve that goal. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Ken. I'm sure that was very helpful.